guys, Jake Carlson here, host of the Modern Leadership Podcast. Are you ready to focus on amplifying your leadership superpowers? Let's go! Hello, elite achievers. How are you doing today? It is so good to be back on the podcast mic, sharing valuable leadership lessons. You are awesome. I just thought you'd like to know that. Anyway, you're going to love this week's podcast, Turning Weeders into Leaders. And I have a confession. I am a terrible gardener. Under my watch, plastic flowers die and apparently weeds thrive. But I love to talk about the leadership lessons learned in the yard. So today, I've invited an expert on landscape leadership, someone who shakes his head about the fact that I have plastic flowers, let alone causing their demise. Let me introduce my new friend, a guy you're really going to love, Jeff McManus. And his background is this. Jeff is the Director of Landscape Services at the University of Mississippi, where he grows plants. He grows people as well, and he grows ideas, understanding that all humans either have or strive for the innate elements of greatness, resiliency, opportunity, and wisdom. Jeff developed his growth theory into an impactful management and professional development leadership program for his staff, taking his grounds employees, which he affectionately terms the weeders, and developing them into leaders. It's been a joyous challenge for him that's reaped acres of rewards in the form of national recognition by Princeton Review, Newsweek, and of course, every visitor that walks onto the Ole Miss campus. Jeff, it is so great to have you with us today. After weeding through that introduction, how are you?
Jake, I am doing great, and I can't believe you admitted that you grow or have plastic flowers in your yard.
Well, I usually wouldn't admit that, but with you on the show, I got to throw in all the yard gardening weed puns that I can handle right now because, Jeff, I got to tell you, it's so great to have someone with your unique background on the show. And I'm really excited to jump into some of the things that you talk about with this growth theory. But before we do that, did I miss anything?
No, you hit it right on the head. I'm excited to be here. I really enjoy growing things, and plants was just the start of my passion. And it really turned into really growing more into people. And that's when I really started. That's where my heart and passion really flourished in what I'm doing now today.
Well, and what I think is so great about what you're doing and what you talk about and in this growth theory that you have, and we'll get into that in just a minute. But what I think is great is you took a field or a background, the experiences that you've had, and you've applied them across different industries. So you started in this gardening, landscaping industry, but you've seen that the theories, the ideas, the facts and things behind landscaping and leadership can run together. And that's what I love this opportunity to talk to you about.
That is so true. I mean, we're all having the same principles that work in our lives, whether you're in gardening or whether you're in sales or whatever industry you're in, the principles are the same. So it's true with nature. It's if we're going to plant and we want to grow a certain variety of plants, say if we want to grow tomatoes, then we have to plant tomatoes. And there's certain things that we need to do to grow tomatoes and certain things that we do to grow certain flowers. And it's the true with the culture of a team. We have to plant certain aspects to grow those cultures as well. If we just leave it and let culture take care and let the people take care of growing it. And you never know exactly what you're going to get. Sometimes you get a lot of weeds and you just get all kind of variations that you're not sure what it's going to be.
I want to take a step back and I want to find out how you became the Director of Landscape Services. How does one go along this career path to get I think it's a great calling. When I look back at my college days, there was this one experience that I had where I was walking on campus and it was bright early in the morning. I was the only one. I looked around and I just thought, man, this is a magical place. Now, I wasn't at Ole Miss, but I would imagine that many college students across the nation have these experiences where they walk on their campus and they say, wow, this place is magical. It's beautiful. And you have a huge hand and role in that. So how did you get this position? Let's take back a step.
Well, I was a marketing major going to school at Auburn University, and I was feeling my way along. My brother had a garden center back home in Douglasville, Georgia, and I said I should take a horticultural class so I can work with him in the summertime and know a few plant names. I took the class, loved it, thought about, man, could I major in this? Could I actually do this? I didn't even know there was a major in this in college. And as I'm taking my marketing and doing more and more in business, I realized my passion wasn't there. It was confirmed when I failed marketing class. And I said, that's just sort of a confirmation. I need to switch fields. My passion's really not in the marketing. So I ended up going in there full time, graduated, ended up at running some great properties in Florida, some high-end resorts and big, big properties, and got a phone call one day from the University of Mississippi from a chancellor here, our chancellor, and very interested in me applying to work here. So long story short, I came through the state of Florida to get to Mississippi, and it was just a great fit, a neat culture of having students in the campus and college professors studying, growing, and I love this atmosphere as you described earlier. It's just a neat, neat place to be.
Well, and you talk about that you didn't know that there was this opportunity. And I think sometimes out there we're seeking what is our calling or what is our opportunity, what direction that we need to go, whether we're 19, 20 and just in college, or whether we're 40 or 50 or 60 or 80 and we're just looking for what to do next in our life. Sometimes we need to realize that we don't know what opportunities are out there. And Jeff, I'll give you a quick example of this. If you would have taken a personality test or a job placement career test 10 years ago, there would not have been the answer, become a podcaster or become a leadership teacher or expert. And now I look at what I do now, and it wasn't even an option back then. And so you always have to be on the lookout for what those opportunities are. A couple of things that jumped out to me. One, you talked about that you started at Auburn, you've now ended up at Ole Miss. I don't know if there's any conflict of interest in that. The other thing you said is that you were contacted, and I want to dive into that just a little bit. You talked about the chancellor at Ole Miss contacted you while you were working out in Florida, and I want to dive down into how that actually transpired because I think that's very unique.
Well, I stayed in touch with my college professors at Auburn. And that there was something about staying in touch with relationships and just keeping them advised of what I was doing. And my wife and I had an itch to get back to the South, where sweet tea and biscuits were still on the menu to some degree. I grew up in the South, just enjoyed that culture. And we were ready to change out of the South Florida culture. Great culture, but it was just time for a change for us. And so I just reached out to him and let him know we were available for a move and that I was looking. So when the chancellor was looking for someone to oversee his beautification program, he contacted the Auburn Department of Horticulture, Dr. Ponder, and asked him who his short list was of people that would be a good fit for that, for this opportunity. So I was on that short list, and that's the way of keeping in touch, staying involved, but also being really good at what you do to make sure that you're doing things at a high level of excellence so that when people do come, they do enjoy and like what you've done, and they know that your credibility is good.
Do good work. And what I heard you talking about there is two major themes that I believe in as a leader as you look out at progressing and finding success in your life. And the first thing you said is you stayed in touch with your network. And networking is relationship building. And relationships aren't necessarily, I want you to do something for me today, and maybe I'll do something for you tomorrow. It's a matter of building friendships or finding commonalities that you have in common. And then when opportunities arrive, where do most good opportunities come from? They come from people we know. So the first thing you said is stay in touch with your relationships or your network. The second thing then is to do good work. When you do good work, people will notice what you're doing. And you talked about being on the short list. It doesn't matter how well you stayed in touch with your advisors at Auburn. They wouldn't have shortlisted you if you were doing poor quality work or if you didn't have the passion for the job. So I really appreciate that. Now, Jeff, you've taken this opportunity, and it was a big opportunity going to Ole Miss, and you had an entire beautification scheme and process to do on the campus and a lot of work. How many team members do you have? And when you had that and bringing it all together, let's hear about some of the background and elements of that.
Sure. We have 1,000 acres on our main campus here at Ole Miss. We have 33 full-time employees. We actually have fewer employees in the field working today than we did 17 years ago when I came here. We're actually maintaining 40% more property than we did at a higher level than we did, and we're actually have it at a very high level. So we've been able to get great people, incorporate some great systems, and create an incredible product that's being recognized nationally. So it's been all about taking a group that was not excited about being here. Most of the folks I describe as they were just trying to hold on to their jobs and keep their jobs, and the leadership was not allowing them to grow and take ownership of the property. And it was more of, I'm just surviving. Only 25 more years and I can retire. And people were looking at a paycheck and not their passion and not their purpose. Part of my goal was to turn that around where people had ownership, that they had pride in the property, that they loved the plants, that they learned the plant names, that they became the experts when people asked them about plants, that they could tell them about the plants. We're hiring people who know very little about plants. And then we're developing them through our system, and then we take them through all of our classes that we've developed, and continuing to grow their expertise and grow them as leaders. Even now today, we have guys who started off in the front line who are now doing presentations to gardening classes, and that brings me so much joy to see that happening instead of me doing those classes. They're actually taking that on. So that's a huge, huge success for us.
And you're working in an industry that typically and traditionally has had higher turnover. And so have you found that by reducing that turnover, by giving people ownership, this purpose and passion that you're talking about, letting them know more about what they're doing and the impact that it's making, that you've reduced turnover and that has equated into people being more efficient in their roles?
Well, sure. Anytime you can reduce turnover, but I am going to push back a little bit on that. We're actually encourage people to find their passion. We want them to grow their passion. And so if they don't enjoy gardening and they don't enjoy this type of work, we encourage them to find what you love and get out there. Life's too short to live for a pension and just to toy through this work and then have 25 years of blood, sweat, and tears to retire. Man, find something that you really love. And so we've had people take us up on that, and we've had people get into new industries and things that they truly love, and then others who have come on and been promoted because they've outgrown us. They've developed their leadership. Now they're taking new jobs. So that's where our success has been, as we continue to foster new growth and new ideas and people to continue to push past their upper limit challenges.
And so is this process that you take them through, this finding their passion and their purpose, is this part of the growth theory, or is this something separate that you do?
No, it's part of the growth theory. The growth theory is my philosophy on how to raise and grow this team. And the G in grow, it's simply 4 words. G is for greatness, R is for resiliency, O is for opportunity, and W is for wisdom. And the key is all 4 of these, but as I start walking them in wisdom and I start exposing our team to a different level of thinking. So I bring in people like John Maxwell, Zig Ziglar, Les Brown. We bring in all types of speakers by X-Talk speaker, TEDx Talk, excuse me. All these speakers by video or however electronically, and expose our folks to that continually. At least once a month, we're doing a sit-down leader-to-leader meeting, and we're going for the heart. We're going for those core values that we develop that inner person, and that let them continue to grow at their pace and what they want to go to.
And so I want to dive into these leader-to-leader meetings that you mentioned, and I think this is a cool idea. I've been a personal growth junkie for my entire life. I remember 8 years old, my dad listening to Zig Ziglar. I was hooked. And I love all the names that you talked about are all fan favorites of mine. I love them all. I want to talk about these leader-to-leader meetings that you have. So on a monthly basis, at least monthly, you have a coordinated scheduled meeting where you get your whole team together?
We do. Well, actually, this actually started because of drama. We had a little bit of drama going on, and then it turned into a lot of drama. And I had to change the culture. And this was after about 9 years of being here. we were pretty good. We were good at what we did, but I realized if I'm not proactively, consistently feeding the culture, then I'm leaving it to the culture to figure it out. I'm leaving it to everyone else to figure out. So I started an experiment with about 6 of our team members, frontline folks, and just pulled them in. And we just tried sitting around, talking around the table. Then after a while, I said, we got to introduce something else. How about John Maxwell? Why don't we bring him in? So he popped in on a DVD, and we birthed that, just a slow birthing, a growth process. And then we started another group, another small group. I found that this works better with smaller groups with this size department that I have, and ended up doing everybody. So I ended up with 5 groups, and we meet once a month. We put it on the calendar, and regardless of what we're doing, we stop for 1 hour and we do it. And I have people push back on me on that, Jake, and say, well, I don't have time to do that. And I laugh and I go, I don't either. I don't have time. But when we do it, it makes us so much more efficient. The drama has really just disappeared, and we're able to talk and communicate so much better. We're getting to know each other. And the team has actually just become more energized through this process. So it's like sharpening blades on a mower. You got to do it. Otherwise, you're just not going to have a really good cut out there in the field. So it's made us truly sharper people.
And I was going to ask you about that pushback, because I've been on teams as well where we've tried to gather together, and you get people that complain, oh, my day's too short. I just want to get in, get it done, and get out. And so I can imagine that. And you brought this about because of drama. Now I wanted to ask you, you've got these 5 or 6 groups that meet. Are they cross-team as far as, do you have some frontline people, some top management, and so they get to interact?
We do cross. We pull them off different crews. We have supervisors and we have frontline teams. And yes, it's just, we try not to pull in just one crew at a time. And it works pretty good. It was working good. We also found that we break up our department into crews. So we have a crew on the north part of campus and south part, a crew that does all the details. We find too that these crews need to stop and have tailgate meetings where they just get things off their chest and talk and communicate. We have found these have been really good to decompress and allow them to get things, the air cleared. And we're now starting those here this year with our teams as well. So anytime you can just stop and focus on the core values, things that you believe in, and talk about them, that really adds a lot of value and energy to the team.
And one of the things I want to point out for the listener here is how you have done this with your team at Ole Miss and how you've related everything back to their job and what they're doing. And so when you read your bio, or if you go back and listen to me reading your bio at the beginning, you talk about your philosophy for turning weeders into leaders. Okay. So we've got this weeders theme. And then you talk about growing, which ties in with landscape. And then you talk about, all these benefits of bringing in this lingo. And one of the things I wanted to point out for the listener is that you can do this in any industry that you're in. If you're a real estate agent, you have your own lingo, and you have some of these principles that can tie in and be used on your teams. And then, Jeff, what I wanted to ask you about is, let's say that you're not the CEO or you're not the director of landscape. Let's say that you're just one of the team members, but you're working on a team that you see this would be beneficial to. How would you suggest that somebody that's not the team leader instigate this or kind of bring this to their team leader?
First, you've got to lead by example. You have to have credibility and model the way, regardless of wherever you are. And so you bring that credibility that people will listen to you and trust what you're saying. One of the things I did with my bosses is I just showed them what we were doing. I just asked them, do they have a problem with it? And was it good? Do they feel like it would be beneficial? And they were all in favor for it, to do it. So if I'm a person who's not have a position title, I'm gonna go to my position title person and ask if I could facilitate it, or if they would like to, or could we try to do this, and see what kind of answers I get. Anytime you can, even if doing it during lunchtime, for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, we do some things during lunchtime that may not be related to work, where I'll just open it up for guys to come in the conference room for 30 minutes. After they eat their lunch, they can come in and we'll just do it on their own time. But anything you can do to help the growth process is going to be a great encouragement to the group.
And so what I hear you saying is not insubordination, but what I hear you saying is that we can lead from any position within an organization, but by getting the proper authority, by getting the proper acceptance of this. And to do that, we need to recognize that we are all in positions of cells, and that getting someone above or below you, whether you're the leader and you want your followers to do something, or whether you're a follower and you see an opportunity for your leader to take you in a direction, is you have to present this in a way that they recognize the vision that you're driving towards. Now, Jeff, one of the things as we talk here that really stands out to me is just your passion about your job, your passion about the industry, about everything that goes along with it. And I think that itself is so vitally important. Now, one of the things you started to talk about a little bit, and I want to dive into a little bit more, is this going from just a paycheck mentality to a purpose or a passion mentality, and how that plays into our roles and the quality or efficiency of our work.
It's huge. 62% of prospective students who come onto a college campus who have not decided if they're going to come will come and will make a decision in the first few minutes based on the appearance. And the number one aspect of that is the landscaping. So what we're truly doing in our area is we're helping recruit the future doctors, lawyers, accountants who will go on and cure cancer, who will go on and create Fortune 500 companies that will create more jobs, who will go on and direct NASA programs, who will write great novels. And so when we start connecting the dots of your job, of what you do actually has an effect on our society. We're empowering you to go out to do this job to the best of your ability, but you're not just cutting grass. You're helping cure cancer. You're helping put people in space, and you have a small role in that. So now you are helping cure these things. And so there becomes this aspect where you're saying, I'm also a part of the solution. And so we talk about why you're here. If we can answer the why, your purpose in being here, that's what helps create that passion. And if we can get people to really drill down into the things of the technical aspect of doing it with excellence, we created courses in doing that and how to do the best practices. That's where the passion starts coming from, when they have ownership in creating these standards, creating these classes that we've created in Landscape University. It's just like adding fuel to a fire. It just takes off and ignites, and people take ownership in it. And no longer are you having conversations of, well, who's going to do this and why didn't it get done? It's more the conversations of, hey guys, it's time to go home. We've got to go. We've got to clock out, and we'll pick this up tomorrow. It'll wait. That's how we've been successful, is to continually to connect the dots of why they're here.
And I think it's absolutely vital that we get our teams and those that are surrounding us to really buy into what their purpose and their passion is, and that we can all move forward together. As you told that, I was reminded of the story about the team that was sending people to space, right? The NASA team. And there was the lady who was sweeping the floors, and someone asked her, what are you doing? And her reply was, I'm sending somebody to the moon. And the idea is that everybody on that team, whether they're working in landscape, whether they're a professor, whether they're the dean of the university, no matter what role that they play, we're all helping make lawyers and doctors. We're all helping to cure cancer. We're all part of this. And it reminds me of Stephen Covey's one of the 7 habits, is this idea of synergy, or all of us working and pulling together. And I often use a Zig Ziglar quote that says, we become part of what we're around. And what I hear you saying, Jeff, is that as you've got this team all pulling in the same direction, well, they start picking up momentum together as they start working towards a common goal with all the other people participating in the campus. They start driving towards that goal. And that's where the success that you have seen, where we talk about national recognition, Princeton Review, Newsweek. And like I talked about, the impact of one student walking on campus. And I reckon I'm not the only student that's ever had that experience based on your stories there.
That's so true. That's true. We have a few minutes to make that connections with moms and dads and students that they go, wow, I'm home, or wow, this is where I want to be. That's a $40,000 or $50,000 decision if they stay here 4 years. So it's a financial decision, but we want to connect with them. We want them to have great memories. So we're constantly creating areas that people want to take their pictures in front of. We want to connect at a deeper level. We want this, when you drive on this campus, you're going, this is where I want to be. I am home. I can see the next 4 years easily. And that translates a lot of times when people graduate, they don't want to leave because it's such a special atmosphere and such a special place.
Well, and then they stick around and get their graduate degree, go for a master's or PhD, right?
That's what we want, yeah.
Now, your growth theory, this greatness, resiliency, opportunity, and wisdom, I would love to dive into it a little bit more. We don't have a lot of time, so let's just focus on one. I want to talk about the O in the growth theory, which is opportunity. How does opportunity play into this and in your theory of leadership? Well,
opportunity is seeing what a challenge or what a problem may be presenting to us in the future. We had a situation, I'll give you an example of, we have a grove in the middle of our campus. It's 10 acres, beautiful, beautiful oak trees, stately trees all across the grove, and beautiful grass underneath it. And our staff would put a lot of sweat and energy into getting that grove looking beautiful. And then during football season, everyone tailgates in the grove. I mean, it is a huge, huge event on game day. So you have anywhere from 20 to 30,000 people in this grove. And it's a great festive time, but then when everyone leaves, they tend to leave a lot of litter and trash and things left. And our staff was just morally, their morale was down, kind of a whining attitude and poor, pitiful us. And this is the attitude that I was just watching when I first came here. And it's like, poor us, we have to spend all day Sunday cleaning this grove up. And we said, there's got to be a better way to do this. The newspapers coming out and taking pictures of us and going, poor, pitiful landscape. They've got to do all this hard work and wah, wah, wah. And it's like, winners find a way to win. There's an opportunity here. So we ask our staff, some of our key staff, what can we do different and make this a win? And somebody raised their hand and goes, I know, we can close the grove on Saturday. And we all just kind of laughed and go, no, we can't do that. And somebody says, why don't we contract it out to an outside contractor? And we did that. We put it out for bid, but then nobody bid on it. And so we were kind of back to the same place. So what do we do? And somebody said, why don't we contact a nonprofit organization, maybe like the Baptist Student Center or the ROTC guys, and let's see if they need a fundraiser. And they said also, why don't we see if we do it at midnight so that we don't come in on Sundays, that when our alumni come through to go back home, they see a beautiful campus and we create this wow. So we reached out to some nonprofit groups and we were surprised. They embraced it, and we asked them if they'd want to come in and clean the grove with us. So we tried it one night. They came in at midnight. They brought 80 college students in, and they cleaned the grove up in like an hour and a half. It was amazing. And the next morning, people came on campus and they were just amazed of where the garbage was. They couldn't believe it because they were so used to coming in on Sunday and seeing this garbage everywhere across the campus. It was, to give you an idea, we haul out between 60 and 90 tons of garbage after every ball game. That's a space shuttle and a half. A space shuttle weighs 60 tons. So it's a lot of garbage. And so one day we knew we'd hit a home run when we had just gotten through playing the University of Georgia. And this was Sunday morning. The grove was absolutely clean and just looked great after the ball game. We had come in at midnight and cleaned it up. But the University of Georgia, there was a fan who was in his car, and I was watching him talk to one of my employees, and he was just, it looked like he was really just chewing him out. I was behind him in my truck, and a few minutes went by and the guy left. He pulled away. And so I pulled up in my truck and I asked my employee, I said, man, what happened? Is he okay? Are you okay? He goes, oh, yeah. He goes, that gentleman was there and he goes to Georgia games all the time, and he goes, they take days to clean up their campus. He goes, last night, he said he left here. He said this campus was a mess. And he came back this morning and all the trash is gone, and he wants to know where the garbage is. And so that was the win, because we had starting to make the wow that people were noticing. New York Times even included us in an article about the Grove of that wow, cleaning it up. So we gave people an opportunity to shine, an opportunity to turn a challenge into something bigger than themselves. To now it's a point of pride of the way they do their work. That would be a one point of opportunity. Maybe you want to follow up a little bit, Jake, on that before I go into another one.
No, definitely. I think that is a great example that you shared there. It's really thinking outside the box, and it's really providing win-wins for all those around. I remember back at my college, I played ice hockey, and at my college, it was a club sport. And of course, we had to travel, and it cost a lot of money. We didn't have any money. So what did we do? We cleaned the stadium after, just like what you were talking about. It gave us a hand in it. We felt pride about it as students. It gave us a win because we now had money to travel and play the other teams that we were playing. And so as you told that, I couldn't help but just think of the many opportunities that all of us have in our roles and in our jobs, in our industries, to think a little bit outside the box and create win-win situations that are not pre-written. Nobody has done them before. You just got to discover them for yourself. And so I love that story, Jeff. How about one more story or example on opportunity?
Well, we were looking for a couple of things. We were looking for consistency in our workforce, that no matter where we were on campus, we had the same high level of standards. And we were also looking for a way that could potentially be a personal growth aspect for our employees. We knew that we needed a consistent training program, but there was really nothing out in the world that fit our needs. And so it took us 4 years, but we built what's now known as Landscape University, where we have a system that from the day that a person arrives for the first day, they go through these classes. They go through our orientation, they learn our culture, they learn what we're about. And they are immediately taught our core values, and then they're taught into our procedures and our policies. And so everything is very systematized, that they get that training. And then we actually have accountability that as they do this, that they get, I guess it's not a star, it's a circle by their name on each class they complete. And if they get to a certain level, they can actually qualify to get raises throughout this whole system in areas in which they complete. Now, we don't focus a ton on the raises because we don't want it to be money driven, but this has really been a game changer for us, as we saw an opportunity to build consistency, and it took us a while to create this Landscape University, but now we're even training people all across the United States in this Landscape University. They're coming here once a year at our conference and learning how to do this for their own campuses as well.
And when you think about the impact that having an education has on you, I think back to my college days. And of course, I still wear the symbol on my hat and on my shirt. I feel a strong passion towards my university because that's where I went to learn. And when you start creating opportunities to learn and grow, to be educated within your business, you start creating these opportunities for people to be proud to wear the hat or the shirt or the jersey of your organization. And so I love that, Jeff. Our time's getting just a bit short here. And before I leave you, I wanted to check over to our Learning from Leaders section. It's my favorite part of the podcast, where we get to know you just a little bit better by asking 6 rapid fire questions.
Sounds great. Let's do it.
Perfect. So the book currently on your Kindle or bedside table?
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
I've heard about it before. It's once or twice. No, it's a fantastic book with tons of long-term value as far as timeless principles. So I love that. How about the best movie ever made?
I love just a goofy movie, because my family and I quote it a lot, is Kicking and Screaming with Will Ferrell.
I have not seen it, but I imagine with my kids, we probably got to take a look at it, because that's exactly what we have a lot of, kicking and screaming. How about your leadership superpower?
Empowerment. facilitating empowerment to others, getting ownership, giving them ownership.
And such an unselfish and needed leadership quality in the world today. How about a motivational quote, philosophy, or mantra?
Zig Ziglar, brother, is you can get everything in life you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want.
Everything that this podcast and my business is built on is that philosophy. I agree with it wholeheartedly. It's probably my most favorite motivational quote or mantra as well. If you could leave one leadership trait to your kids, the next generation, or even to your group of leaders, what would it be?
Grow. Continually to grow. Read, listen, develop. Break through your challenges by growing. You grow yourself. The only person you can truly change is yourself.
And I love the GROW acronym that you use as well. So greatness is within. Well, Jeff, I cannot thank you enough for taking us out into the garden, showing us what we need to keep and what we need to pull out as far as weeds and flowers go. I will make you this commitment. The next time you and I talk, I will not be killing any more plastic flowers.
Well, that's good to hear, Jake. And make sure you paint them every now and then just to freshen them up.
Or at least dust them off a bit, right?
That's right.
I can't thank you enough. Have a great day.
Thank you, Jake. Enjoyed being with you and your team.
All right, my friends, what did you think about that? I told you I love to talk about these ideas of working in the garden. I love the idea of working in the garden. I'm not sure how much I actually like working in the garden. Like I said, I'm a bit of a brown thumb in that I cannot keep anything alive. But I love the leadership principles that we can draw. And we didn't talk much about this, but of course, in order to harvest, in order to reap, you need to plant. And planting is so important, especially in our business. We need to do the things today that will yield the benefits of tomorrow. If we want to be successful, we need to do the things today that are going to get us on that path and keep us going down that path towards success. As I was wrapping up with Jeff, I forgot to get his contact information for you. And so after we wrapped up, I got that for you and I wanted to give it to you now. He is offering a one-day leadership course for free over at jeffmcmanusspeaking.com/ML for modern leadership. And he wanted to share that his new book is out on Kindle and paperback. It's called Growing Weeders into Leaders, and you can get that over on Amazon.com. Of course, I'll link all that up in the show notes. Best way to get in touch with Jeff is just on his website, jeffmcmanusspeaking.com. A couple of big takeaways that I had from our episode. Of course, stay in touch with your relationships, with your networks. He talked about his advisors in college. He got his position today, which has grown into such a great opportunity for him to be a trainer and a leader within his industry because he stayed in contact with his teachers and his advisors. Who are your mentors? Who is your network? Who are those that you can stay in touch with that will allow you to continue to grow? And when you need help, you can reach out and they can assist you. So think about that. The second big takeaway that I had is this idea of doing good work. Going out and doing solid work. You know, Jeff would never have gotten on the Ole Miss team had he not been doing good work in Florida. It doesn't matter the connections that you have, the network that you've built. If you're not doing quality work, it's not going to matter. Nobody's going to put their reputation on the line for you if you're not proving yourself worthy of a strong leadership position. And so those are the big takeaways from this episode. If you would like to get the show notes for this episode, they will be found at jakeacarlson.com/ML30 for Modern Leadership 30. This is episode 30. You can get everything that we talked about, the books, the movie, the quotes, and all the principles of the GROW theory and the way to get in touch with Jeff McManus over on that webpage. Also, I wanted to remind you that we have a free leadership webinar, Become an Elite Achiever. By tuning in weekly, every Thursday, we have a leadership webinar that you can join us on. For more information, jakeacarlson.com/webinar. And until next week, I want to wish you the very best of days, an even better life, and stay awesome. Thanks for listening to the Modern Leadership Podcast. You can find me on Facebook at Speaker Jake, on Twitter at Jake A. Carlson, and of course the website, jakeacarlson.com. See you there.